Hello, welcome to Yellow Door Urban Homestead. I am Asia and I'm an urban gardener going on about 154 square feet of bed space in my backyard. That does not include the orchard area. Tonight I am going to plant out my beans. Last night we got to 32 degrees, but the weatherman is saying that was our last freeze. I'm planting out beans today. So my favorite, I tried these last year for the first time, had never tried them before, but they were so delicious, are the purple potted pole beans. The bugs are out. Maybe he was right about that last freeze. And so I'm hoping to get a whole lot of those. They are gonna grow up this trellis along with some Orient Wonder beans. I'm also gonna plant my first round of bush beans that's gonna go into the actual beds. And I brought my handy dandy book with me because I actually have my garden plotted out so that this part would be easier for me. And I did this in the off season. So that's my garden. So I'm planting them maybe 2 inches apart. So these are pole beans. You have pole varieties which climb, and you have bush varieties which grow to a certain height and they stop. Once they grow to the certain height, you'll get your flush of beans, and then you'll need to plant your beans again. But the pole beans will just keep growing. I am putting two seeds into each hole. And that's just like what I did with the peas for germination purposes. So if one doesn't germinate, you have the option of getting another one to germinate in that same hole. Last year, I did not do a succession sowing of these, of my pole beans, but this year I do plan on it. Closer to fall, when the vine looks like it's giving up the ghost, I'm gonna replant them and get a second wave of pole beans. And for my bush beans, I am planting them, I think I have it set for every 2 weeks. And I'm just gonna do that throughout the growing season. What varieties of beans are you planting this year? This year, I will let some of the pods dry on the vine, and then I'll save those seeds so I can have seeds for next year. I'm gonna plant the bush beans out. You can do 9 bush beans to a square foot if you're doing square foot gardening. And on this side of the bed, I'm gonna do square foot gardening. On the other side of the bed, I'm going to be growing zucchini. And so they need a pretty big space. I'm putting them towards the north side of the bed so that they don't shade out the beans. That should work fine. And if we're honest, let's just be honest, more than likely, the squash vine borers are gonna get them long before they actually get too big. Let's cross our fingers for me that they don't, but that's normally what happens. Do you fight with squash vine borers where you are? Do you ever get a squash harvest? Because I don't. This year, what I said I was gonna do is just make sure I eat the male flowers. At least I can get something out of it. So I'm basically gonna do my first wave that does go down to the echinacea. Once I get to the echinacea, which is that plant right there, I'll start doing it only on this side. And then on the back of this bed where I'm gonna grow determinate tomatoes with some basil, and I'm hoping to fit some Swiss chard in there because last year I pulled my Swiss chard out at the beginning of the summer planting season, or late spring, however you want to call it. But they were beautiful. So I think that they'll still grow. Have not started them yet. That's like a new thing I thought about trying, and so I am. I do have a ruler. I do kind of want to keep this bed measured out correctly, just because there's gonna be tomatoes and zucchinis. I'm trying to keep my space measured out. Also, did you guys see my spinach? It's growing. And I, for one, am excited. It's my space that I'm planning to do beans in, and I'm planning to actually mark it off to make sure I stay within my foot for each one, because like I said, I'm putting nine plants, 9 bean plants in each. And they have this little like flat tool thing that you can use too. Works for me, so I'm just gonna use the ruler. And I've plotted out my square feet. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a pretty little mix of color in here. I'm going to do a green, which is a strike bean. I've never tasted it. I just knew I needed some more bush beans, so I went to M.I. Gardner's website and grabbed some. This is a top-notch golden wax. It's a yellow, so that gives some color in the front of the bed. And then a royal burgundy from Botanical Interest. So I'm just gonna do all 3 colors. 3 rows of 3. I put 2 to a hole, but I'm probably gonna come back through and cut out the weaker one because we are square foot gardening in the bed. So why do we water in seeds? You water in seeds because the moisture is what helps the seeds germinate. Most seeds don't need light to germinate. There are seeds that need light, but most seeds don't. They need moisture. Like I come out every day and I check where I know I planted seeds to make sure that the soil is still moist. You can even throw a light layer of mulch over it. Just gonna take a little bit of this and toss it over it to help to hold the moisture in while they're coming up. They'll still come up through this, but you don't want to do a really heavy layer because then they may struggle to get up through it. And I'm thinking I'm gonna plant my second potatoes tonight too, because I have an extra bed now that I did a trellis for the winter squash. I didn't have that in my plans when I started planting in winter. So yeah, they have already sprouted. I think I have a vole. I don't think I know that. Doesn't normally mess with the garden beds, but I came home to the onions today and they are still there, thank God. But the soil was very much disturbed. And the leeks, I'm looking at them because they look like it might have came back while I was out here. And the leeks were literally just pulled out. Could have also been the birds for the leeks. All right, so I have my potatoes. The way I keep them separated, and these are 3 different varieties. I just took a cardboard box, cut it, taped it to the sides, used a piece of tape, and wrote the name on the front. This was the bed I was going to let the potatoes mature in and then let the winter squash grow in here. But I did a trellis for my winter squash, so that's awesome, and I have an extra bed. And I love potatoes. Once the potatoes start to come in, I am actually gonna cover this bed with a very, very heavy amount of mulch so that I don't have to do the healing thing. And what healing is once the potatoes start to grow, you pull dirt up around the sides. I'm gonna throw some blood meal and bone meal in here. I did put compost on this bed. I'm not picky about the bone and the blood meal that I use. If I can find it in the store, I just grab it. My planting guide says this was supposed to be done April the 1st. So, my planting guide for my area, but I planted potatoes later than April 1st last year, and I got a harvest. So, I'm not gonna be too hard on myself about that. It was so cold and we were still getting freezes, so I didn't want to put them out here, but nonetheless. So I did 3 rows I have 4 types of potatoes. I can always plant some in the bags. So I have a red Potomac. I don't know how to say this one. Catadin, maybe. And a Yukon Gold. Love Yukon Gold. So these are the Yukon Gold. I am cutting this and putting it straight in. I have seen where people say you should cut it and then let it scab over. I don't really have time for that, so we'll see what happens. And I'm just sitting it right down in the hole, and I'm going to cover it back up. The Catadin, I'm gonna put that in. Don't know what it tastes like. Never had it. That's what gardening is about, trying new stuff. And you plant the sprout going up. That is where your plant is gonna come from. And so now I'm just gonna cover over. And this weekend, I'm gonna get some straw. So as soon as they start to come up, I will cover them. Also gonna water these in. Found a ladybug. She flew away. I got up super early this morning, but I did not grab the camera or the tripod. I actually just set out here and planted out probably more than 50 flowers. I'm gonna plant my vegetables next week. Not my tomatoes probably, and not my peppers, but I'm gonna direct sow my cucumbers and my zucchini and my yellow squash. I'm gonna plant out my winter squash. I'm gonna plant out my loofah. So I'm saving that for next week, and I will remember to record it. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. I will see you on Wednesday. I am not sure if that video is going to be processing eggs. Did you know I was recording? Yeah. Well, I am. Or if it'll be my Q&A, or if it'll be me planting out. I don't know. Tell me which one you would like to see next week. Don't forget to subscribe and share and like if you'd like. The chicken is hollering. Don't forget to visit me on Instagram at Miss Asia Spratley. That's MS. And I post over there all the time about what's going on in the garden, and I will see you Wednesday. Bye.